Hi, this is Bruce Buffer, your voice of the Octagon, and you're listening to MMA Mental.
We are now joined by Phil Harris, the first UK flyweight to fight in the UFC. How are things with you, Phil?
Yeah, all good, thanks. Yeah, all going really well.
Obviously, we're only about 4 days away from your fight. How are you feeling so close to the fight?
Yeah, very relaxed. We're at the hotel now, all checked in, so just a case of just chilling out, making weight, and fighting Saturday night now.
And how's training gone?
Couldn't have gone better. Yeah, I've had a really good training camp. Trained down at Gym 01 in my hometown, Portsmouth, where I've done all of my training for this camp. Yeah, it's gone really well. I've had a great team behind me to help me get prepared for this fight.
Now, before we talk a little bit more about your opponent this weekend, I just want to go a little bit into your background, because you had a lot of fights on the UK scene. What was it like fighting on the UK scene?
Yeah, in the early days, like I've been fighting for about 10 years now. So the early days, it was more rough. It was more amateurish. But as time's gone through, you've seen the progression in the British MMA build. The shows have got bigger. They've got more professional. To a point, they're as good as any shows around the world now. So fighting in the UK, it's built up and it's getting better and better.
Do you think your exposure fighting for BAMMA and Cage Warriors has led to this opportunity with the UFC?
Yeah, definitely Cage Warriors. My last couple of fights for Cage Warriors was against an American and a Canadian. So I think it got me the exposure over in America a little bit more. People started to realise who I am, and it got my name out there a lot more. So yeah, definitely Cage Warriors built me up to get to the UFC, I believe.
It says here, I'm just looking at your resume, you dropped to flyweight in February this year. Was the addition...
No.
Is that not the case?
No, I fought about 6 fights for flyweight at BAMMA and at Cage Warriors.
Okay.
All flyweight.
No problem. With regards to flyweight then, how pleased was you to see the UFC start and open a flyweight division?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard talk about it for years, for a good few years now. So when it finally happened, it was just a case of keep winning your fights. My manager told me, get a couple of wins under your belt, keep winning, and he said, I will get you to the UFC, and that's exactly what he's done. So yes, it's all come good in the end.
When you started out in 2003, and obviously with the way it was then, and I'm going on your pro record. When you started out in 2003, and with the way MMA was then in the UK, and with the fact at one time we didn't even have a lightweight division in the UFC. Did you ever imagine that you'd be here now fighting in the UFC?
Not back then. I was literally just fighting for fun back then when I first started, which pretty much the whole of the UK were. It's just, if you love the sport, you would compete, as in people do, like amateur boxing or judo or anything like that. There wasn't any money to be made, it was just for the love of it. But as time progressed, yeah, that was my aim to get to the UFC. And eventually we knew that this weight category was going to come in, and that would be my time when I could slot into the UFC.
Will you talk us through finding out about the UFC, making an approach for you, and how that felt?
Sorry, repeat that again?
Yeah, will you talk us through the UFC making an approach for you, and how that felt to be noticed by the UFC and to be signed onto a contract?
Yeah, basically, my manager did say, that he's been in contact with them, and it would only be a matter of time before I'd get my contract. And sure enough, my baby had just been born a couple of weeks, and so I was just in a bit of a time where I was not fighting, I was chilling out a little bit, and then suddenly I get a call up, do you want to fight in 6 weeks? time. So it's time to get my training kit on, and even though my baby is only a few weeks old, to get into full-time training basically and train as hard as I could, ready for my fight basically. So yeah.
It's not really an opportunity you can turn down, is it? You don't know if these opportunities are going to come along again.
Yeah, they don't ask you twice.
No, exactly. Do you feel like you've been able to have a better training camp then for this fight, obviously with having more notice?
Yeah, I've had slightly more notice for this fight. My home life's a little bit more settled now, my baby's a little bit older. Definitely. We're a little bit more well prepared for this fight. So yeah, just that everything's been a little bit more better for this training camp. So yeah, I'm definitely a better fighter than I was 4 or 5 months ago.
Are you looking forward to fighting at Wembley for the UFC in front of all the UK crowd?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my last 3 fights have all been abroad. I fought in America, Dubai, and the Ukraine. So I haven't fought back in the UK for about 2.5 or 3 years, something like that now. So yeah, I really can't wait to fight back in the UK. No travelling for me, and I'll get all the home crowd. So yeah, everything's a good positive for this fight.
Obviously, yourself and Ulysses, you're both coming off of a loss. Do you feel any added pressure coming off of a loss?
To a certain extent, I think everyone feels pressure coming off a loss, but that doesn't even come into my mind when I fight. It's a case of you forget that past. You look into the future, and this is you take every fight, each one as they come. So yeah, it doesn't really come into my mind for this fight.
And what are your thoughts on your strengths to his weaknesses over your opponent?
I believe I'm stronger than him. I believe in every department going, really. I think his best things I'm better than. So I think he's very good at jiu-jitsu, but I believe that I'm better at jiu-jitsu. I think he's a good boxer. I think I'm a better boxer. So I think his conditioning isn't as good as mine. So I think in every department I'm slightly better than him.
Do you feel the fact that he's coming over from the States, and I'm pretty sure he's probably come over this week. Do you think that could be an advantage to you or not?
I would say it was definitely not a disadvantage. So he's coming over, obviously different time zones, different weather. The travelling just takes it out of you a little bit. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be ready by the time fight day comes. But it's in my favour that I don't have to travel and he has to travel, definitely.
And what do you take from your last fight? Obviously, you faced Darren Uyanayama, and obviously that is quite a big name in the flyweight division. I mean, he's fought, in Japan, and he's had some big ones over there. What do you take from that fight to help you improve for this fight?
The main thing I think that I took from the fight was knowing that I'm good enough to hang with the guys in the UFC. I think when you're from the outside looking into the UFC, you believe that they're sort of invincible. You believe that they're that little bit better than everyone else. But now I've done that. I believe that I'm as good as anyone. So part of it, I think, taken from that fight is the mental belief that I am just as good as anyone in the division, and I'll take that through to this fight.
A bit more of a light-hearted question. I was looking over your resume, and I noticed that in 2005 you faced Jose Aldo. Is that the Jose Aldo?
Yes, it is, yeah.
And, wow, I mean, obviously that's quite a big name to have faced. Obviously, when you faced him, I know it was a long time ago, could you imagine that he'd go on to do and be what he's become?
Yeah, I mean, after the fight, it was a pretty one-sided fight, to be honest. But after the fight, everyone that saw the fight, even myself, everyone that see him said, this guy's a bit special, sort of thing. This guy's going to be something like majorly good. And then before I knew it, he was signed to the WEC, got the WEC belt, signed to the UFC, got the belt, keeps winning still. We knew at the time that this guy was something very special, that he was a prodigy, basically.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's gone on to do that. You actually fought once in my hometown as well, which is Coventry, at Cage Warrior Strike Force 4. Do you remember much about the event? You faced Paul McVeigh.
Yeah, I vaguely remember. Yeah, another tough night. I mean, Paul's a great fighter, so yeah, that was a tough fight. That was back in the early days of Cage Warriors. Yeah,
And they had.
I think there was Michael Bisping was on that card. I think Dan Hardy might have been on that card. Big names on that card.
Yeah, they had some big names on the Cage Warriors card. I think Antonio Silva fought on the Cage Warriors cards as well.
I think he did. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say I really appreciate your time today. I know you're a few days out from your fight. I obviously want to wish you all the luck for the fight. And just before I let you go, do you want to do any shout outs for any sponsors, any friends, family, and also shout out your training partners?
I just want to say thanks to all my coaches and gym mates down at Gym 01 in Portsmouth. Thanks to some of my sponsors. You've got Funky Gums, JY Nutrition, Lutus helped me out, OK Kimonos. There's quite a few guys that have helped me out with Venom sponsoring me for my kit for this fight. So yeah, there's a lot of guys that have helped me out, and just making the training that little bit easier, making life a little bit easier. So thanks to everyone. Big thanks to my wife for helping me prepare for the fight. She does a lot with at home and some emails to the UFC and things like that. So yeah, thanks to everyone for their help helping me prepare for my fight.
Well, like I said, I really appreciate your time today. I will be there in the crowd cheering you on. So obviously, good luck for your fight on Saturday.
Thank